This is Robert Gesink of Team Jumbo-Visma and you are listening to the Turbo Talks.
Hello listeners and welcome back to a new season of the Turbo Talks podcast by Garmin. I am Rob Pauw, I am your host, and as in all Turbo Talks episodes, I will be joined by an awesome guest who will tell us all about a hot topic in the world of cycling and endurance sports. And today's topic is definitely on point for this time of year. With wet and cold winter weather in the Northern Hemisphere, we know many of you are working up a sweat and building that fitness in an indoor setting. So, time to discuss what the ideal home training setup actually looks like. And who can tell us better than the man who regularly makes us jealous with all his awesome photos of his own amazing setup. Time to find out more about the ideal pain cave and the training secrets of Jumbo-Visma's own Robert Gesink. Welcome Robert, welcome on the Turbo Talks, how are you?
Thank you, thanks so much. I'm actually quite okay. Been a hard time with a lot of training work and almost ready to start racing again. So actually feeling good and ready to get going.
All right, awesome. And I saw you were sharing the other day on Instagram already. You're really into the Winter Olympics, and then you even had like the skiing at the front of the house.
Yeah, well, we live in Andorra, and across the valley from where we live, there's a pretty large skiing area. I guess 200 plus kilometers, Gran Valira it's called. And I don't ski at all, so I don't know nothing about skiing. But my kids are really excited about skiing. So they started this year actually in a race club and doing their first races. And and now slowly I'm learning a lot about skiing. So they just finished the European. I think it's under 20 or something championships across the. So I was just watching that after training. So it's there's a lot of things going on here.
All right, awesome. So the kids might be there in a couple of years as well in those championships.
Oh, that would be really nice. I mean, I will support them with any sport they want to do, and try not to push them too much because I think that's counterproductive. But it's really nice to see them enthusiastic about sports. And I think as a parent who is also always doing workouts. They kind of grow up like that and feel that it's normal to do something up to a certain point, and they're really excited about skiing. So I'll support.
Is skiing still the favorite Winter Olympic sport for you, or as a true Dutchman, you prefer the speed skating?
I must say I had some easy days the last few days, and speed skating was on. So I did leave the house a bit later after watching speed skating in the morning. So I even set up TV at the end of the breakfast table to before I bring the kids to school. There's always now the Winter Olympics on, and trying to get them to finish their breakfast and leave on time. But I think it's all events are fun to watch, and there's a lot of sports I wouldn't even follow throughout the season, but now they get highlighted throughout the Olympics, and that's actually really nice to watch.
Yeah, awesome. And perhaps maybe you would stay home for it as well and just do some extra work on that Tex Neo 2T while watching the Olympics then, or?
Oh, well, actually, I do think that when you're doing your workouts indoor, then definitely putting a TV next to it, besides the workout you are doing, is definitely something I would advise. And if it's sports and you see others perform to their best, it can bring you in a certain mindset that the workout goes way quicker. So I would definitely recommend to get as many ways to distract from time, I would say, as possible to do a nice workout. Because if you're just staring at a clock, actually, well, this is how it works for me. That's not my ideal position, and I would definitely watch sports or some travel documentary or anything.
Yeah, as already said in the intro, we're going to touch on the topic of that pain cave. What's it look like? So already for you, we know now that you probably want to have like a big screen in there so you can watch something out of interest. What is the most important thing for you about your pain cave, as we call it?
Well, I think it's the whole setup altogether. Good music for me is also really important during the ride. And if you're lucky enough to to do that through speakers without bothering the neighbors too much, I would, because somehow it works better than earphones or headphones or whatever. The TV screen is set up on two huge speakers of Pioneer, who make some noise. So that's actually really nice. I think also obviously it starts with good equipment. Or if you want to do a good workout, I would definitely recommend going for one of the Neo products. And I would say the T2 is a perfect device for me to do the hard workouts on. So.
What makes it for you like the perfect device, or the perfect device to work or to do the workouts on?
Well, it's silent, but the resistance feels good. So it feels like you're riding in a natural way. Obviously, you're not once you're going uphill, you're not climbing really. So your bike is not going up or anything. So it's a different kind of resistance, but it is nice to feel that you're actually not stronger than the machine itself. So the machine will dictate how you ride, and I think that's a really good thing. If you're I've been using all kinds of different trainers, and then in the end, you want one that feels like you're steady and you're standing firm, let's say, and you're not about to fall over or that your wheel is slipping or anything.
Yeah, so it can handle your watts.
Exactly. Yeah, that's important. Well, it's not like I'm a crazy sprinter or anything, but definitely that's really handy that it does feel like it's that you're doing a proper workout. Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned like the equipment. What else is a key next to that trainer and obviously that bike setup in there? What else is key for you to have there? We mentioned the TV sort of like as the entertainment and the music.
Yeah, biggest fan possible, I would say. So like obviously because you're indoors. Well, not always. Every now and then I put it outside on the deck if I just want to go for an easy spin. But then you're also not sweating as much. But indoors, I would definitely want some fresh air blowing around. So open a window and get a bit of air in your airflow in the room, because that makes it so much easier. Because actually, it's just overheating yourself. And if you have some airflow, then also you're gonna last way longer. You're not gonna get as super wet and lose so much water sweat that you can't push your watts anymore. So I would definitely, if you do a good workout, make sure you don't overheat.
And how important is it for you? You mentioned like the lots of sweating, so you want to get the nutrition and hydration in. Do you have like a special table next to it? Do you use the ironing board, or how is your setup?
Yeah, all kinds of things. Usually I'm sitting next to the workbench, I guess, or where all my tools are, and I'll move some of them over because I'm not as organized as I every now and then should be. And I'll make some space to put some food, and because obviously you're not wearing much besides some good bibs, but so you can't stuff anything in your pockets or anything. And then I will put some gels and stuff, maybe some just some sugars or some even a few Haribos every now and then. And then it depends a bit on the kind of ride, I guess. As I said, I live here in the mountains, and it's so often that you're just climbing, and then on a rest day, every now and then it's just nice, even if it's good weather. And then I'll just put the Neo outside and just pedal a little bit, not without having to push. And that's also a really good workout, I guess.
Yeah, and then you mentioned obviously you've got the nutrition, you've got the hydration, you've got the entertainment. Is there anything else that you say this is a must for me? Do you have like a personal preference when you do like a long set?
I would, if you go for a long ride on turbo or on the tax, then I would definitely make sure you split it up. So for example, you start with a bit of a warm up, like 15 minutes, and then you do either some cadence work. So you do a few minutes on a lower cadence, a few minutes higher cadence, or specific watts. But don't just wait until time passes. Just make it interesting, And then, for example, if you do a set which is around your threshold or a bit lower, then those 2 or 3 minutes of recovery you have afterwards, they fly by because it's going to hurt again. But therefore, time is also flying by. And then if you do a few of those sets, before you know it, you're at an hour already. And it might sound weird, but I usually once I pass the hour, then somehow then I can also do 2 hours. Then I've passed some kind of
The
barrier,
mental barrier.
and somehow, and do keep your sugars high, because if you're trying to ride only on water, then also I tend to go like negative, thinking negative, because you're using all your reserves. And then also time is not going quick anymore. So you have to stay happy. And the staying happy I always do with good music.
What is the music?
It goes everywhere. So it can either be some dance, but it can also be Kings of Leon, or it goes all the way. Sometimes it's even just AC/DC. Just whatever you at that moment, gives you a smile on your face, because I think that's key to making it over an hour and longer. That you're actually somehow a little bit enjoying something else and just pushing. So that would be my tip, my advice.
And unfortunately, you had to spend some time at some point in isolation as well, in quarantine.
Yep.
And with all the COVID that has been happening over the past 2 seasons and adjusted your guys' training, what has been the longest ride that you have done on your Neo 2T by Garmin?
Definitely over. Often I'm connected to Zwift, and then 200 kilometers I've passed a few times. I think 250 even. So that should be around 6 hours plus I've done. Yeah,
wow.
But I also, I must say, to be honest, I do like 2 hours, and then I put on some dry bips and I stopped. It was isolation, so I was at home anyway. So I stopped for a coffee with the family, and I went back up, and I just, I had all day, so it didn't really matter. And but it was more also to find a goal, I guess, because when the pandemic just started here, they didn't even let us out the house. So we're just sitting here for a month plus, I think almost 2 months. And then also you need a certain goal in during the day, besides a reason not to be in sweatpants all day, I guess. So it wasn't like that then.
And did you develop like a favorite set as well, or did your trainer give you like a specific set that became your favorite?
They really, and that's also, I think, how we came out of this whole lockdown pandemic really good. I mean, we had a really high level that year in the tour as a team, and in general, actually. They did really focus on training, as we say, black and white. So either go real fast or go real slow, but keep those high watts in as well. Because if you're always pushing, let's say around 70% of what you can do, 60-70%, then you get pretty slow, and you do slow. You're not slow, but you have to be able, especially in modern cycling, to push those really high watts for about 5-6 minutes to survive that first group, and to be there after the first climb, also towards the second, the third, and the fourth climb. And so those high watts are really important to keep on doing. That's also the sets I just meant. You could just be a minute at your 120% of your threshold, those kind of things. And that's those are not the most pleasant rides to do. But I think if you want to improve, of course you have to keep on moving your boundaries in a certain direction. So that's how we got through through those months as well. It wasn't just pedaling and sitting. also just high intensity, low intensity stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of our previous episodes we had Chris Joe Jensen on, and he had developed like the JJ special, and he just tried to accumulate as much time as possible above 500 watts in a session. So
Yeah, yeah, that could be one, as long as it's yeah. I mean, that's probably a way of doing the same thing and calling it your own workout. Yeah.
yeah. So who is your trainer?
Mathieu Heiboer.
Okay, and how, I'm curious, sort of like
Yeah.
you obviously developed as a rider from maybe like a GC rider, uh, took on like a different role throughout your career. Has your training evolved with that? Did you start training in a different way?
Well, yeah, I switched from Louis Lahai, my previous trainer, to Mathieu about around the time that I also changed a little bit my role in the team. And obviously, every trainer has its own. Although Mathieu has most of his, he was really well almost trained by Louis. He helped him a lot with his development as a coach. But every trainer has his own approach. That's what I wanted to say. And I think I did start to train more around that black and white, as I just explained. But I think it was also necessary at a certain point because as you get older, yeah, when I was really, really young and I could always just go training, go to a race, and I would be at my best. And now I'm getting a bit older, obviously. This will be my 16th year as a pro, and 35. And I do notice that I need a bit more, maybe racing, but also, yeah, it's not like every training straight away 1 week later puts the
Yeah.
bar higher, gets your level up as easy. So that therefore I think it's also really necessary to every now and then push yourself real hard in training.
Yeah, so you sort of like had to adjust a little bit for that, maybe change the specificity of your efforts that you were doing in training as well for that.
Yeah. I think in general, what you could say is that we do throughout the whole year already more all-out work or really high power work, and before it would have been more that I did a lot of base miles, and then towards the big goal started making the ride shorter, but doing putting that intensity up, and we changed now a little bit, and we try to maintain the same level throughout the whole season, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting here. I mean, we're living here in a little country, but a lot of pros call it home, and obviously also ride a lot with other riders than from other teams. And then it's interesting to see, the difference between ways of training and the ways other coaches work. The other day I went with Mike Woods, and it was a 7-hour ride in the end, and he did all workouts throughout his or all different efforts throughout his 7-hour training, and that's, for example, something would never happen in our team or with my coach. The high intensity stuff are usually short training rides, and the long training rides are the ones where we just keep it easy, I would say, or slower, and work on the other part of the fitness, I would say. So that's interesting. How some things work for some riders and some don't.
Yeah. And talking about like working on your fitness, and let's go a little bit back to that pain cave. Is there any other work besides the bike that you're doing in terms of like gym work or mobility or?
Well, it's not like I'm the most muscular man, so it's not really a lot of gym. Also, we always try to stay keep the body weight low, I guess. But there's a lot of core stability and those kind of things, activation before rides, and I think that's a really good advice towards people who train a lot on indoor train as well, because it can become a bit static if you're just sitting there and just pushing the watts. So to start, especially before a day where you do high power, low power stuff, with some activation, so some squats and some stretching as well, to get the muscles ready to get going, and not jump on the straight out of bed, jump on the erg and start to push the watts. So I think it's good to to start with some activation, and that's also what we do on the normal days where you train outside and do high watts, a bit of activation.
So does that mean sort of like in your pain cave, there's also room for a mat on the floor which you can do those exercises on?
Exactly. Yeah, gym balls, some elastic bands, and those kind of things. And it's not that I'm on the mat for an hour straight, but it could be just a 15-20 minute warm up with some your stomach, your back muscles, some stretches, and every now and then, you feel that you have tension, for example, on certain muscles, and that again, if you do those stretches, you feel like, well, actually, I should plan another visit to the physio this week, or because there's some maintenance needed, and those kind of little workouts give you good insight on how the body is doing.
So make that a part of your daily routine.
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. Especially if you're aiming for GC results, or when time trialing is part of your cycling routine outside, then it's really handy to be flexible and to be easily. I mean, you have to put out high watts in a time trial position, but also you have to be comfortable in that position. And it shouldn't feel like everybody who's ever been on a time trial bike, or who's just been on a time trial bike a few times, they know that after a time trial you can almost not walk up straight anymore because your ass is hurting so much, and because you just overuse those muscles, and yeah, that's something you shouldn't have. I mean, you should be flexible enough to put out the power.
Yeah. And talking about a daily routine, I happen to know that there's something new in your daily routine recently, and that is sort of like see in the morning how you slept.
Yeah, actually, with Phoenix, I'm always sleeping with the watch on, and it gives you a bit of insight on how your sleep was, and it's actually, ever since I got it, it's really something. The first thing actually I look at it every morning, and sometimes you wake up and you think, "God, it was actually good sleep," and then the numbers aren't so great, and then actually you believe the device over your own feeling. So it's becoming quite addictive to get a score. Well, it should be at least around 90, I think, for me, and I prefer it to be a bit over, and then I'm satisfied. So it does give you. Well, not only that, actually, also the steps and all the stairs you do. Definitely the first months I just had the Phoenix watch, and I was just always focused on okay, 2 more stairs today, and then I'm at least at my at my level, and that's also a big change in cycling, I must say. That now these days you see all cyclists, and also in our team, becoming multi-sport athletes, I would say. And when I started 17, 18 years ago, no way we were walking more than we needed, which was really bad, because in the end you need a bit of walking to get your bone density okay. And so if I look at Wout van Aert, Primož Roglič, and as well in my training schedule, every now and then it says go for a little morning run, or so those kind of things. Well, I wouldn't be running, but walking, hiking, or those kind of things, much more. And I think it's a great way to not become such a mono athlete who can only do everything in one way. And you need some more muscles. So, for example, every now and then people do fall off their bikes, and if you have a bit more resistance towards injury, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. So maybe in the next training camp you can just go for a run with Tom, maybe. Although he might be pretty quick.
I think so too. Well, I once broke my right femur, and there's a big metal pin inside the leg. So therefore, running, I don't think I'm not really enthusiastic about it anymore. But at some point, I would, and definitely in the next career, I would, as we started the podcast, all the skiing I see, I definitely want to try and do skimo, or I don't know, ski mountaineering, whatever it's gonna be. Yeah. I don't know yet, but definitely I'm gonna enjoy these mountains all year round. Yeah.
And definitely easy to track then on the device as well.
Yeah, well, that I must say that makes it way easier to follow on what you're doing, because you always have a device with you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's quickly look ahead to the season ahead, because you're almost starting, I think, in the Algarve in, what is it, 2 weeks next week? 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's 16th. Yeah,
next week.
8 days.
Next week.
Yeah.
it looks on the squad that you were going on the road with a lot of youngsters.
Yeah.
How did you embrace that new role or that role in the team?
Well, I think it's quite a nice position in the team to be able to give a bit of all the mistakes you have made in the past and to warn others for not making the same mistakes. Although it doesn't always work like that in the end. Always the lessons you've learned are the moments that you really are the best lessons learned are the moments where you really let's keep nice words, but make a big mistake, and therefore I think. But there's always little things or little advices you can give, and I quite like the. Obviously, contact with everybody is different, but the ones who are really open to receive any feedback, I'm willing to share. Yeah, sure.
What is the best feedback that you ever got yourself and that you're now passing on? Do you have an example?
Let me think. Probably that's some of the best feedback you could give anyone, and especially riders who come and live here. That often for people who are super motivated, the rest day is the hardest day of the week. And what I want to say is, if you're enjoying cycling as much as most of us are, then it is the most difficult to stay and do nothing or give yourself time to recover on a sunny rest day, because you actually would like to go out and then, for example, you take the time trial bike. Well, on a time trial bike, you never push low watts. You're always just riding a little bit too fast. And I would say, well, give your body time to get better, because that's how training works. It's not about just training the hardest. It's also about recovering the best and getting better from that workout you're doing. So that would be one advice. At some point, I was when I still lived in Holland, I went to Spain for 7 days, and the ideal 7 days is 3 days training, 1 day rest, 3 days training, and then the travel days I always took for rest days, and then at home I started training again straight away. Well, yeah, it doesn't really work like that. At some point, you have to listen to your body and those kind of things. Because you're so motivated, you often make the same mistakes and you don't get the best out of your performance. So I would say really use those rest days to improve and don't go crazy.
Yeah, I think some really solid advice. Probably not even only for young riders, but also still for riders or for the amateurs out there who are a little bit older and like their training, etc. Just to that recovery, how important it is.
Well, definitely. If you have a normal day job, then it's even more difficult, and you're also using a lot of energy throughout the day, and then you squeeze in the training between family life and rest and dinner, I guess, and then it's even more likely to make that mistake that you're not actually ready to train at all, and that's always what the mistake we often make is that we're just fit enough to go for the next training, but every now and then it's not bad that you're super well rested, because then also in training you can push for once those higher watts like you can in the race, and you can also get yourself to a higher level. So dare to take a bit of rest every now and then.
Yeah, and you'll definitely be looking for that higher level again in 2022. I think it's no secret that your ambition is to fill up one of those maybe 2 spots that are left open for the Tour de France roster of Jumbo-Visma. Always been the dream of you, I think, now to be there on the podium in Paris with the yellow jersey on the team. Is there anything in specific that sort of, do you have something that's going to help you get that spot or get there?
Well, it's really difficult. I mean, also, of course, the Tour de France are also about a certain parcours. And this year, the parcours we get, it's especially in the first week, there's a lot of chances for echelons, cobble stages, and those kind of things. Yeah, well, these days we have a really, really strong roster on the team, and there's guys who are better at that than I am. So that's clear. So it's going to be a difficult year, therefore. I mean, I've been always working hard and giving my best to my teammates who performed well and were 3 wonderful Vuelta victories with Primoz 3 years in a row. So to have been part of that, but I would definitely want to be there if it once it's going to work out to win the Tour. But those kind of things. I mean, as I said, 16th year being professional, and every start of the season we've made a certain program for that year, and I think I once or twice kept to it because always something happens. So there's always something happening in cycling, and so let's see how things goes. Let's get on the way in Algarve and focus on the first one, and then I'm racing in France with Primoz and those guys. So it's going to be 2 tough stage races there in Tom Ardèche, before Catalunya, Pays Vasco, and Romandie, which is also a really tough block with quite little rest in between. So that will actually be a really tough block because it's more or less called a bad weather block. So always one of those 3 is going to be either snowing or raining a lot. So it could be it could be a tough. That could be a tough block too, and it's definitely going to be an interesting season again. And although it's number 16 already, as I said before, but it's always exciting to start a new season. Yeah.
And with your experience, probably one of the lessons maybe is also then that you've already learned is you can only focus and worry about what you can control and not what you can't control. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's a really good point. And that's actually also one of the lessons they said in the beginning. Yeah, worry about the things you can control. Yeah, that's sounds super easy, but it is. I mean, especially if you're in a Grand Tour and it's excitement and interviews and TV and people along everywhere, then, well, just worry about the things you can change and not the things that are going to go the way they are anyway. Or even more if you're in a Giro and the organization is one big chaos, and stay focused, stay calm, and save your energy for the things you can control.
Yeah. So when will 2022 be a successful year for Robert Gesink?
Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, in the end, in the role I'm playing now, I'm just as good as the leader of the team, I guess. No, it's not really true. I mean, I always said I want to keep on riding as long as I can make a difference, I hope to be up there again with the best guys, and really focusing obviously on the Vuelta where I'm going anyway. So it's that could be really a really nice goal to go for a 4th Vuelta victory with Primoz. But as I said before, so much can happen and so many things can change. There were seasons where there were the nicest results in my personal results or nice victories or whatever. And then I wasn't even satisfied. And now looking back, I would say, well, actually, that was a pretty good season. So it's just from where you look at it, I guess. So let's see. Let's get the show on the road at first in Algarve. And also good memories there. It was my first ever really good result between the pros while I still was still an amateur. So it's already... that's one thing with all the young guys that every now and then I really start to feel old because I'm always telling these old stories from 15 years ago. I was like, oh, I should stop doing that. But I know more of the sports directors by now than the riders in the peloton because they're all ex-pros.
But I'm still seeing a really passionate and really enthusiastic and fully energetic Robert Gesink on the other side of the line here. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I have little kids, so they keep me young.
All right. Well, we're going to let you go then. Maybe you can join them a little bit or at least watch them ski. Maybe even later today or play in the snow. Robert, I want to thank you so much for your time. And thanks for sharing everyone about your pain cave and those indoor training secrets. I'm
my pleasure.
Definitely sure we have some very jealous listeners who every now and then look at your Instagram and like, oh, I wish my setup was like that. With that text DO2 T by Garmin. But awesome to everyone.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
All right. Good luck in the 2022 season. And for everyone who has been listening, as always, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a rating and review on iTunes. And hit those 5 stars on Spotify. And furthermore, in 2022, just like Robert does in his career, never stop cycling. This was Rob Bouw with Robert Gesink of Jumbo-Visma. Stay tuned for the next Turbo Talks.